Hey folks, thanks for tuning in today. So today's video is going to be part 3 in our Grim Reaper series. We are going to do an etching style Grim Reaper, and so if you've seen that style online, it is actually getting pretty popular, or has gotten pretty popular, and it is where we're not going to actually use any shading, as it were, and we're going to go back to those old cross-hatching days. If y'all remember doing that in your art, or if you're a comic book artist, you probably love cross-hatching. And it's not something you often see in a lot of different tattoo styles. In fact, as far as I know, it's really kind of one of the only styles that you're going to see cross-hatching in for replacing a whip shading or a standard gray wash style shading. And so if that sounds interesting to you folks, I'm Clay, the Techie Tattooer, and we're just going to get to the iPad. Grim Reaper time. So, just to make sure we're all on the same page here, I went to Google just to search for etching style tattoos. It's also called woodcutting or engraving style. And, yep, just wanted to double check, make sure we all know what we're talking about when we're doing this and what the expectations are for this tattoo stylistically. That's all. Just a quick overview. This is what it's like, you know, this kind of dude here with the, not exactly cross-hatching, right? But definitely the lines instead of say shading. Same sort of deal here, right? You will see cross-hatching like in this little area here and this darker section here and up in the chest, right? Yeah, so that is the style we're going to go after. And so let's just go ahead and get right to it and start designing our forearm piece that is going to end up being our Grim Reaper tattoo. I'm going to go over here and just get onto my syrup pen. Even though I don't really use it that much, I do use it for just kind of blocking in shapes sometimes. Really crude little forearm here. Okay. Right. That's good enough for a crude little forearm. There we go. Let's go ahead. We'll choose this purple again. Why not? Make sure we're back on our technical pen in the inking tab. Inking tab, technical pen. And let's see. So our elements are going to be the scythe, cowl. This one will probably end up doing a full body design. So that cowl might end up being a little bit smaller. We're going to kind of play with this. So here's our skull. Here's the head, shoulders, hand kind of holding on here, an arm like this. Maybe something kind of above like that. Ribs, hips. Maybe even bring this down a little bit more, perhaps. But I do want to make sure it doesn't get in the way. Bring this up a little bit more. Maybe a little rock or something here. And then we're going to go on a new layer so this doesn't conflict at all. Some kind of, we'll go with a different color actually too. Now that makes it look like he's looking for something. So that means gotta rethink that arm. And is the other arm actually also holding the scythe? Yep, I think that works out better. Yep, so the other arm's going to be holding the scythe. Okay, got some feet in there. We'll get the hand up in here. So it's not going to go that direction. That's going to go in this direction. Yep. Scythe going that way. Yeah, I think I like that actually. So we're going to drop the opacities way down on these layers here. Yep. Go ahead and start a new layer by tapping that plus symbol. Get to our black here. And oh man, do I give him a cowl though? Or do I just make it a cool skeleton design? That's going to be kind of hard to figure out because part of me thinks just having a naked skeleton would look rad, but I'm not sure about that. Okay, so I'm on my technical pen. We'll go at like 10% size. Yep, that's a pretty good size there. Then I'm going to start drawing in this skeleton, starting with his skull. You know what? I am going to bring my stabilization way up though. So I'm going to click on that, go to my stabilization tab, and I am going to bump this all the way up to 60 and streamline at 60 as well. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, there we are. I like that better. I am going to make this one not so troglodyte to kind of go with the style of etching in that older school kind of way, just because I think that's going to be more cohesive with the overall style here. I think that's a little bit too big, so we're going to give him his cheekbone and bring that in smaller. No. So let's see. We've got the other eyebrow here and there. The nose. This little ridge there. Maybe give him something like that, just because that looks cool. Work on those teeth. And again, as we're doing the teeth, we want to make sure that we're really focusing on the gaps on the inside of the teeth, because we don't want those to get too dark because we haven't left enough open space. Match those sizes a little bit better. There we are. Probably give him something kind of like that going on. Actually, yeah, I like that. Better. The narrower front or the narrower bottom teeth, because that's just how we like to do that. Again, you're going to make your own stylistic choices on how to make these kind of things happen with your own individual skull. Maybe do some research online about making things maybe a little bit more old school etching stylistically, because that's absolutely something to consider. And there we are there. Give him a little bit of a background jaw. And we're going to leave that background jaw out for now. We'll see if we actually want to do that or not. And then new layer, let's go ahead and work on the scythe. We know that the old school scythes for actual, they got a little handle coming off them somewhere about there. There we go. Give it a little bit of a backing to the blade there. There we are. New layer, and we're going to start working on the cowl and all this good stuff here. I'm going to switch onto a new layer and get his hands in. Actually, I should probably do that on the skull layer. Yeah, let's do that. So then... too thick. Much better. Let's try tilting that the other direction. Yep, I like that better. I'm actually probably going to leave the rest of the hand like non-existent behind this, just so that we don't add too many weird lines and details in that. But when we're going to go over to this hand, let's make sure we get in that weird forearm bone first. So that that's coming out of there, but that looks far too long given where this is coming out from. So I'm going to cut and paste this onto a new layer. Twist this a little bit more. Shorten it ever so slightly. I want to combine these two layers yet because I want to erase out some of these overlapping lines first. Yep, that's not touching there. But because that's now like that, gravity is not going to push it that direction. So we're going to want to have it flowing differently. Now let's take this forearm piece. Whoa, now, wrong layer. Let's take this forearm piece. There's nothing there. Where'd it go? There it is. Change its direction. And does that work for the hand? That's still pretty darn long. But let's see if we can fudge that and make that work. And let's go back to working on this hand. Where did you come from? There we go. Back to my hand, skull, skeletal layer. Gonna keep this a little bit simpler than it is in actual reality. If you know how the little hand bones work and whatnot, we're not gonna do all of that. But let's see here. So I'm gonna start with the knuckles here. Yep, that's a little bit better. Cool. So we'll have that for that other hand. That coming in for the skull back. Oh, that's actually just regular schmutz. In reality, what? Stuff in reality? What's that about? Let's go ahead and give him a collarbone. That's not going to look right. Okay, back to the cloak. There we go. Back to the skeletal layer. We're going to get these feet in. Foot bone's kind of the same, where it's a super weird collection of stuff that nobody really knows about. So we don't want to lose too much detail in here. In that, but we want it to still be kind of accurate and cool. So that's a hard balancing act of how much reality do we put into this? Right, and that only has 4 toes, but you can kind of imagine as we get closer and closer and closer that there's a 5th toe at the end of that there. Ankle bone coming out there, right, following along that purple line. And then kind of break this up a little bit. And then bring in some new bones. That's going to be hard because that's so many little tiny lines in there. Ugh, I don't like that. Right, so I'm going to start with those little toe bones, and those are going to be so tiny. Ugh, that's brutal. I don't think I like that, but I'm not really sure how to get around that. There we go. That actually doesn't look too bad. Okay, okay. Going on there, we're going to get a new layer, or rather I don't need a new layer. I can just grip onto this layer I haven't been using to get our rock going. Let's go ahead and take these outlines and whatnot out. Let's go ahead and erase out these lines here. Clean that up a little bit. There we go, like that a little bit better. Good stuff there, good stuff there. Still not really sure how to work the neckline. I feel like that's actually a little bit too tall up to have the neck. So we're just going to say forget it. Squish all of those onto one layer. Duplicate this. Mute this layer underneath just in case I don't like the life choices I'm making here. Yeah, that looks better. Whoops. Whoops. Okay, so drop it down to about there. Maybe even lift it up to be looking that direction. Is that better? Yeah, that is better. Okay, yeah, much better. Not so nearly tall neck, long psycho craziness. Good stuff, good stuff. Okay, so let's start adding in our cross hatching. And as you're adding in this cross hatching, you're going to be making a topographical map with it, right? That's that huge kind of etching style thing that we cannot forget that we're doing. Is one, we've got to keep our line spacing and line weights really nice and even. On top of that, we have to use the curvature of the line to wrap around the shape we are trying to make. You know, as I'm saying, topographical map, that's what I mean, is really making sure that each one of these lines might have to bend and curve and twist around with whatever the upper shape is. right, guys, I think that is our etching style tattoo, right? Super, super simple, lots and lots of line work, but from far away, that looks pretty fun. I think I do like that. So, yeah. All right, so that's it, folks, for the video series. We've got our American traditional. Go check that video out. We've got the illustrative black and gray, which I got a little bit too detail-y, but it'll actually still make a really, really good tattoo. It just makes way too long a video. And then, of course, now we've got our Gothic etching style or wood carving style. Give it a Google. It's actually a really cool style. I really like it. I think we're going to see it age really, really well over time. And yeah, it might end up getting a little bit dated and that kind of stuff, a la 90s tribal, but I think it's a great style. I think it looks really good. And so I'm actually really looking forward to seeing these tattoos out there in the real world in the future. So if you have any questions, please leave a comment below. Otherwise, just hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel out. Hit that notification bell because we're going to have all kinds of really fun tattoos coming. And if you want to give me any video suggestions, I am here for it. I love hearing from you guys. And I can't wait to see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.